Welcome to Veronica Live, and I just bump into the coolest people now that I'm an X-aholic, and he's an influencer on X, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love everything that he posts, and I've got to have him on. His name is Zeek Arkham, and it's at Zeek Arkham if you want to follow him on X, and he's got close to, let's see, 370,000 followers. I'd say that's pretty big, Zeek. So welcome to Veronica Live.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
And you're an influencer and you're a conservative. So have you always been a conservative? We'll start there.
No, actually, I haven't. I consider myself more of a conservatarian now.
I
just
like
because
that word.
there's some things, there's some things I agree with the conservatives. There's some things I agree with more with the libertarians. So I'm sort of in the middle. So instead of saying I'm homeless, because I hate saying that, I just say, you know what, I'm a conservatarian. I think that's a thing, so I'm right there. But no, I haven't been. I actually grew up Democratic, sort of leftist Democrat. You know, my mom grew up during the civil rights struggle, so she identified with a lot of Democrat policies, like a lot of black folks who grew up during that time. And I was always raised to look at more of what the Democrats were doing. And it wasn't until, I would say, midway through Obama's first term, I started looking up stuff because I had heard from a lot of other people who had dissenting points of view. And they said their viewpoints were the most accurate. So I fact-checked it on my own and wound up red-pilling myself. So it's funny how facts kind of do that to you, you know?
Well, welcome to the family. And don't you live in New York City? Is that correct?
No, I moved out of New York City.
Oh, okay.
I'm still in New York. I'm
Okay.
New York.
Okay,
I'm
you're a New
in
Yorker.
Suffolk County.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, I am a New Yorker.
Well,
But
I
I live in Suffolk County, New York now. Suffolk County, Long Island, where things are back to normal. You know, it's where New York City is deep blue and Suffolk County is pretty deep red.
Oh,
they outnumber
nice.
us, though. So
Nice.
that's the only thing that's messing everything up. They outnumber us.
John, John had a question.
Oh, I was going to say, I identify with on the conservatarian there. I kind of got one foot in the libertarian camp and one foot in the conservative Republican kind of area. And it is, it's all about freedom, That's kind of what I always looked at it as. And I'm just curious where, as a Democrat, what drove you to start questioning the Democrat orthodoxy?
I worked with a lot of guys who were staunch Republicans. They started saying a couple things. And these were guys I had a lot of respect for, a lot of guys who I had spoken to and thought they were pretty intelligent people. And I said, listen, I'm going to come back at them with some facts, because I forgot the argument I made, but they kind of shut me down with it. So instead of me doing the typical Democrat leftist, close my ears, put my hands over my ears, close my eyes, and say, I can't hear you. I said, you know what? I'm going to come back. I'm going to shut them down with some facts. Let me straighten them out. And I started looking a couple of things up, and everything they said was true. And, the thing about looking up facts is that you start looking up, when you have a bias already, you start looking up facts that align with what you think. But I couldn't find a single thing to align with what I thought. So I said, okay, I'm wrong about this. I'm wrong about different aspects of policing. I'm wrong about different aspects of conservative versus liberal versus Republican versus Democrat. What else am I wrong about? This is not good. So I started looking at a couple more things, and I said, okay, I guess they're right. I didn't really know anything about liberal versus conservative versus leftist and all that, Republican, Democrat, until I watched the movie Runaway Slave. I heard it was a really good movie, so I should check it out, especially as a black man. They said, you should definitely check it out. And by the end of it, I was sold. I still didn't have all my facts. I still didn't have, I still didn't know as much as I know now. And I still don't think I really know much now, but, there's a lot I didn't know. And by the end of that documentary, I said, that's it. I'm sold. Where do I sign off? Where do I sign my name? You know, and that was basically where it all started.
And I think when I fell in love with Zeek on X was you had it pinned for a long time. It was like a message you wrote. My daughter's going to grow up to see Clarence Thomas as a hero, not George Floyd. She's going to read Thomas Sowell, not some BLM manifesto. You talk about how she's going to learn about Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, not Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. She's going to be around people with a victor mentality, not whiny and complaining victims. And you've mentioned your daughter. I was looking through the stuff again today. You mentioned your daughter. Is that part of also the catalyst that changed you? Your daughter?
No, because I was pretty conservative before she was born. But being a dad made me really start looking into different things and really start seeing the truth for what it was, just because I want her to grow up with a completely different mentality than I grew up. You know, I also kind of red pilled my mom as well. My mom, for the first time, is voting more conservative in her life.
Nice.
You know, she's never done. So I also kind of, my grandparents, my granddad, not so much. He's still, he's going to vote for Harris, unfortunately. But he's 92. He's going to be 92 years old. He's kind of stuck in his ways. But my mom, I red pilled, but becoming a dad and just seeing I've got this little person now where, I'm going to be, between her mom and I, we're going to be the biggest influences in her life. So, we have to set the stage now, especially with everything that's going on. I mean, like I said, I live in a pretty red area. I don't have to worry so much about, I don't have to worry so much about, a teacher with 5 different pronouns going in and trying to teach, my little girl about all her pronouns and how she can, if she wants to identify as a cat, that's perfectly okay. I don't have to worry about that.
Not in my house, Zeke. Not in my house.
No, not in my house, no. Eventually she's going to run into that sort of thing. I want her to be well prepared for when she does.
Nice. Well, that's called parenting. That's a good parent. I've been involved almost 11 years in politics because when I wore a military uniform, we weren't political really. And I remember when Governor Scott, now Senator Scott, was running for governor his second term, he had a Hispanic person and he had a black person pushing, meeting with each community. And so I got to do it was called Sweet Tea in Politics, and we invited the 500 black folks that are registered in our county to an event, and nobody had ever invited them before. And they talked about how it's so hard for them to be a Republican because, it's so ingrained in the black community to be a Dem. Has it been hard for you, this conversion?
It definitely would be easier if I were a Democrat. I have 2 younger brothers who are hardcore Democrats. One of them is a staunch BLM supporter.
Really?
And the other one, he's kind of he's not pro-cop at all, which is obviously a conflict.
Right.
But when people, I love when I post on X or I post on Instagram and people go, "Oh, you're just doing this. This is your grift. You're doing this. You're somehow making money off of this." A, I'm not. B, my life would be so much easier.
Right.
if like I said on the post on X one day, if I just stayed on a Democrat plantation. But it wouldn't be the truth. I wouldn't be able to look at myself in the mirror and go, you know what? You went out there and you were true to yourself. I wouldn't be able to do that. And this is why I try to talk to people. I find when I talk to people, I don't put the labels Democrat or Republican or conservative or anything else, MAGA or anything else in front of them. I just say, hey, listen, are you for limited government? Are you for having more money in your pocket? Are you for trade deals that benefit this country? People start saying, you know what? Yeah, I am for all that. Yeah, well, guess what? Welcome to being a conservative or at least a conservatarian, and people go, hey, wait a minute. No, you tricked me. I didn't trick you. You said you're for all these things. So, when you point things out to people without putting labels on it, they start to get it. When I used to do mentoring and Big Brother programs, I would talk to kids like that and just say, hey, listen, this is what I believe. When it was switched to politics and elections, I would say, this is what I believe and this is what I'm for. And a lot of them, more often than not, would say, you know what, I'm for that stuff too. And there have been a couple of kids, it wasn't my intention to, but there have been a couple of kids I've just made think differently. And that's what I try to do on X and Instagram, just, try to make people think differently.
I like that, actually, because then it's not as, attacking somebody because they're not, a Republican. That's really beautiful. John? Wait, John, we can't hear you. Uh-oh. Hold on. You there?
John?
Oh, there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, there you go. John's talking to himself. Luckily, I can see his lips moving.
Here on the thing to push, to talk. Okay. So Zeke, I wanted to ask you. I followed Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams for decades.
Oh, I miss Walter.
And I really, I miss him too. He was so full of common sense. And Jesse Lee Peterson, I've been watching some of his stuff lately. I'm just curious, particularly with Jesse Lee, when he talks to black people and he presents them with facts, about black history, the resistance is just incredible, and they sit there and they call him liar and all kinds of stuff, and I'm just curious, what is it that is it an emotional response that you're trying to overcome with facts, and I understand it's difficult to do, but how do we convince people, that this is reality, not the Democrat feel good propaganda that they're telling you?
There was a psychological study done where they presented people with facts that were contrary to what they believed, and it took an emotional toll on these people. It was almost like you were attacking them personally. And there are a lot of people with closed minds out there. And I say all the time, I'm not trying to convince the hardcore leftists of what the facts are or what I believe. I had a friend for a long time. He was actually at my wedding party, who he is a hardcore. I say the blacker than black because I'm black, y'all crowd. He's like, he almost worships his skin color, and he and I went today we're not friends just because it just became too much of an ideological clash. But people like him, I'm not trying to convince people who are hardcore leftists who this is their entire identity. I'm not trying to convince. I'm trying to convince the person who's in the middle, who's actually looking for answers, who is open to receiving facts, and that's who I speak to. When I'm countering someone's argument on X or on Instagram, I'm saying, hey, listen, this is what it is. And people go, hey, Zeke, stop giving them the engagement. Stop giving them the attention. My comments aren't for them. My comments are the people who are reading these comments and go, hey, that crazy Zeke guy, he might have said something. Let me look it up. The same way someone put facts on my plate and I was able to look them up and get turned. That's what I'm doing for someone else. So when you have the people out there who they're just so resistant to facts and they have their own ideology and they're going to hold on to that with everything they have, for them it's going to take a life-changing event. For everyone else, this is who I'm reaching out to. This is my target audience. So, I'm not interested in speaking to the choir. I'm interested in speaking to the person who wants answers, who's actively looking for them. That's who I've already said. That's who we should be reaching out to.
Well, and I was looking through your X, which I followed. You're pro voter ID, and they always put it on the black people when it comes to voter ID. So I wanted you to talk about voter ID. I mean, I'm just like, who are these millions of illegals that have come through our border? Now they're taking over apartment complexes in Venezuela, and a Venezuelan gang taking over apartment complexes in Colorado. It's just gotten insane. And I don't, they brought these people here to vote for them. So I wanted you to talk about the illegals and voter ID.
I think it's the biggest crime to gaslight people, especially a certain particular type of people, to say, you know what, you can't get an ID. You're basically too dumb. Biden basically came out and said it. You're too dumb to be able to use the internet to figure out where to go to get yourself an ID. And they're saying we're doing this for you to help you out, to get an ID. And Republicans and right-wing people are racist because they don't want you getting an ID. They don't want you being able to get water while you're online to vote. So we're going to help you out. This is what we're doing for you. And meanwhile, now they're trying to include the illegals in it as well. They're saying, we're going to help you out, but we're also going to help the illegals out at the same time. They're not even trying to hide what they're trying to do. They're not trying to. They're gaslighting people, but in a way they're almost not. They're coming out and saying it on his face. Nancy Pelosi said something to that effect. Oh yeah, we're going to speed through something where we can start getting these recent migrants to start voting. So I mean, I don't know any black person who can't find a DMV who can't get an ID. I bounced for years, and I checked thousands of IDs of black folk who were able to get into a club with an ID. I've seen all kinds of IDs. I've seen jail IDs. I've seen military IDs. I've seen state IDs. You're telling me that somehow the Republicans all got together and said, hey, listen, we're going to stop black folks from voting somehow, just by saying you can't have an ID. I don't know a single black person who has somehow had this impossible barrier to getting an ID. Yet they're convincing black folks, and they get idiots like Roland Martin or whatever his name is to parrot this and go, yeah, you know what, it's racist. Trying to get black folks, stop people who don't have ID from voting is a black issue. No, it's not. No, it's not. Every Republican government I've seen on the state level is trying to bend over backwards to get people ID so that they can vote. I mean, you got to look at the psyop that's going on with this and basically call it for what it is. That this is a psyop, and they're looking to cheat. That's why they want all these illegal migrants in, said they can cheat. And that's really what it is, and it needs to be called out.
And what are your thoughts on the border with we've got all of these people. My whole thing is that they're hurting Americans. They're getting killed and injured and just all of it. I'm so over an open border, Zeke.
There shouldn't be an open border. I mean, if I go into Mexico and say, hey, listen, I'm here. I demand a cell phone, a debit card, a flight to anywhere I want in Mexico, and a free hotel that you're going to pay for and put me in. Mexico's going to laugh at me and throw me right back on the United States side. If I go to most countries and say, hey, listen, I'm here now. I'm claiming asylum. I demand you give me a whole bunch of stuff that your own veterans don't have. I demand you give me a whole bunch of stuff and put me up and everything else. They're going to put me on the first plane right back to the United States. Meanwhile, this country, let's give you a cell phone and let's fly you to a destination. Let's put you up in a hotel where, you can stay for, a certain amount of time. And, we're going to take care of you. To me, that's pure insanity, because we're not doing that for our veterans. We're not doing that for our own citizens, veteran or not, who might need the help. No, we're taking care of this block of people who, by their presence here in this country, are committing a crime. Listen, I have all of the sympathy in the world for a mother who's actually fleeing someplace and looking for a better life for her and her children. Fine, well, and good. You know what? Let's put her to the front of the list. We're still going to vet her and her children, but you know what? Let's put her to the front of the list. When you have military-aged men showing up, and like we're seeing in Colorado, and we're starting to see in Chicago, they couldn't care less about the rules. They couldn't care less about anything else. They're walking around with weapons, taking over people's apartments, taking over complexes. This is something that seriously needs to be addressed, because guess what? It can show up at your doorstep. So this needs to be addressed now before it's an issue. Like we've seen with MS-13, like we've seen with this new gang, Tren de Aragua, this is going to become an issue if it's not taken care of right now. And if Harris gets into office, God forbid, this in 4 years, in 6 years,
oh gosh,
this is going to be a bona fide issue. And you know what? It's not going to affect Harris. It's not going to affect these Hollywood elites. It's not going to affect these limousine liberals who will have these bleeding hearts for these people. It's going to affect people like you and I, because it's going to be at our doorstep, and we're going to be forced to defend ourselves. Listen, I'm defending my family. Someone shows up and says, "Get out, we're going to take over your house," I'm defending my family. And I don't want it to get to that, but unless it's taken care of at some point soon, it's going to become an issue.
I put on X this weekend that we need to buy more ammo, Zeke. And I you know, it's so funny because, you know, John and I endured a Category 5 hurricane here almost 7 years ago. And being in the military, it was actually hard to travel and go to countries with weapons. So I had one measly weapon, and now I'm like a freaking armory. And I keep telling my husband, I'm like, "Did you order more ammo?" So I'm like radicalized now. And when you see what's happening in Colorado, it, you know, as a conservative, it pushes me now to the, and I shoot bullseye. I just want to go on record, everyone. So, John had a question.
In the 10 ring, okay. I just want, you know, I'm curious. One of the things that Walter Williams used to talk about was what he called the poverty pimps, and you know, you see this in a lot of large Democrat-run cities, you know, Baltimore, you know, New York. I mean, just pick one, Chicago, and here you have a structure, a power structure of black elites. And for whatever reason, they seem to choose like the unions. And one thing that really appalls me, Zeke, is that the what we're doing to black children in these big city schools is sinful. I mean, it is so disgusting that they're ill-educated because of the unions, and the black power structure wants to side with that. And then when the parents come back and say, "We want school choice," overwhelmingly, you have the Democrats that say, "No, you can't have school choice. We're gonna continue to keep your kids in these rotten schools where they don't learn anything." So how do we break that cycle? Because all it does is it seems to feed on itself.
A huge part of my frustration is watching black folks continue to vote for the same type of politician over and over and over again, who has done nothing for them. And I've gone on at length about that. You know, you vote in these Democrat politicians. I put a post up today. Joe Biden can be openly racist or say openly ignorant things about black folks. And but we still love you, Joe. We still love you. And then you've got Kathy Hochul, who said that black kids in the Bronx don't even know the word computer. Oh, but Kathy, we still love you. We're still going to vote you in when it comes time to re-election. We still have your back because, God forbid, we vote that one of those evil Republicans in. Oh, Kathy, we still love you. Then you got Kamala Harris, who is from California, lived in an upper-class neighborhood in Canada somewhere, came back, went to an upper-class school in California. Okay, yes, she went to Howard, but I know plenty of people who went to Howard and don't speak like this. And now on the campaign trail, now all of a sudden, oh, I didn't know that man could speak like that. Oh, you know, we're going to get him in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024. Now all of a sudden, she's a Southern belle from deep in the heart of Mississippi.
I mean, she's not.
Yeah, she's a step away from, I ain't no way tired, you know. Is Hillary directly coaching her?
Yep.
My thing is, like, how many times can they? What was that?
And she sounds like Hillary, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah, she does. I think she's getting direct calls from Hillary. Okay, listen, here's what you got to do. But my thing is, how many times can they insult you to your face until you go, you know what, I've had enough? Meanwhile, you have people like Trump who are like, hey, listen, give me a chance, vote for me, and I'll do the best I can for you. The same way I did the best I could for you back when I actually had the presidency, when I was in the seat. And here's the record for when I did well by you. and they can't wait. I mean, listen, the first thing they're going to say is, oh, black jobs. How dare he call it black jobs? You guys were calling your jobs black jobs a week before he came out and said it. Like, come on, now you're just being stupid about the whole thing.
So Zeke,
I mean,
Zeke, where were you when you heard about the assassination, and how did you feel? I mean, I had tears in my eyes because this man, I call him Saint Trump because who the hell would want to put up with the years of garbage this man has put up with? Raiding his home, lawfare, the stupid woman that says that he was raped her, just everything. What were you thinking that day? Like it I went to a party and people that were not political that night, it like snapped them into reality that they're like, oh my gosh, now we're going to vote for him.
I remember I was at home, and I just started getting a bunch of phone calls. And excuse me, no, I'm sorry, I wasn't at home. I was in Florida. My wife's grandmother had passed away, and I was dealing with my wife's family. And I started getting a bunch of phone calls. Like, hey, did you see this? Did you see what happened? Did you see this? And I remember I turned on the TV, and it was like somebody took a shot at him. And I wish I could say I was surprised, but I mean, you've seen how amped up the rhetoric has been from the Democrats. Terrible. I mean,
terrible.
Yeah, I mean, they are literally trying to make him out to be the Antichrist. So, I mean, you have this guy who, before he ever ran for office, was a darling in every circle, and now they're coming out and doing everything they can to keep him from getting back in the presidency. Even the impeachments. Those impeachments weren't to do anything besides get him to never run again.
Right.
So, I mean, it makes me want to vote for him even more than ever, because if they're that afraid of him, then that's in my opinion, that's a good thing. If the good old boys and good old girls network is that afraid, it means he's on to something. And we need to get more people where the deep state and the swamp are more afraid of them. We need to get more of them in some sort of position of power. So it makes me just want to vote for him and vote for whoever he handpicks to be after him, so that we can continue to just tear down more of the deep state that's destroying this country.
So did you watch the DNC with Kamala? Because I took one for the team. I watched all 4 nights, and my husband left the room to go watch Schitt's Creek because he couldn't take it. And then I watched the CNN interview, which offered nothing, and she had her little lap boy Timmy next to her. Did you watch all of that like I did, Zeke?
I watched most of it. At some point, I couldn't roll my eyes anymore, just because it was just that bad. I mean, they had no policies, no real. This is what we want to do. No real. This is our plan for America. No real. We're going to make this country great. Everything was Trump, Trump, Trump. Everything was don't vote for us because we're not Trump. That was basically the gist of everything that came on. And then Kamala Harris came out and did her speech. Yeah, and it was all, I grew up this way, and this is who my family is. And I mean, that's all fine, well and good, but we're not voting for you for an image award. We want to know what you plan to do for this country. I think it's very telling that they're not letting her just speak off the cuff. I mean, if you look back, Hillary was at least allowed to speak off the cuff. Even Biden, I think people cringed and were like, okay, get ready when he would speak off the cuff. But at least Biden spoke off the cuff.
Right,
you say whatever you want about Biden. He could at least speak. He at least spoke off the cuff. Kamala, they're like, you better not say a single word without checking with us first. We don't care what it is. You better not order a sandwich without getting. we will tell you how to order a sandwich.
Well, the story today said that Trump and Vance have already done 31 legitimate interviews, and that interview with Kamala and Tim, I think what pushed me over the edge when they asked him about his military record and about being the chief, what is it, John Master Sergeant,
Command Sergeant Major.
I always say chief because I'm Air Force. They were chiefs.
Air Force, right? Army.
And he just like changed the subject. It's about guns in schools for kids, and wouldn't even answer the damn question. These people are just lying so much. It's painful. And I don't know. I think the next time we're going to see her is the debate. Honestly.
Well, she can't speak contemporaneously. That's the problem. No, and we saw that when the hostages came back, and she opened her mouth, and it was a word salad came out of her mouth. Again.
Well, and Tim this weekend ran the other way when they asked him about the American being killed.
But I just one thing, Zeke, I wanted to ask you about, and I think you had a post on this, was about Trump showing up at the National Black Journalists Association meeting, and what I thought was interesting was he showed up. And they didn't, number one. And then the way they, instead of trying to have a constructive conversation about what are you going to do in your term, your next term, or some follow up to the things, like the stuff he did with prison reform in his first term, and I know he wants to do more. Why do they not want to follow up and ask real questions about those kind of things?
Honestly, I wish I had an answer for you, but I don't. Listen, as someone who hosts a podcast, I've always said I'm never going to ambush my guest. I don't care if they're the most hardcore BLM supporter. I don't care if they despise cops. I'm not going to ambush my guest just because it makes me look bad. And that's exactly what happened. It made the National Association of Black Journalists look bad. You've got this guy who you invited to your stage, and then you were late.
Right.
Getting him on the stage, and then you spent the entire interview attacking him and trying to get a gotcha moment on him. All it did was make them look bad. If I'm a candidate from that, whether I'm black, white, Hispanic, Asian, anything else, if I'm a candidate and they invite me, I'm going to remember this. I'm going to remember, oh, hey, I remember that time you had Trump on there and you ambushed him. Why the hell would I want to set myself up for that? I'm not going to want to go and do that. My thing is, you got black folks who are now in the unfortunate situation where the Democrats take their vote for granted. They couldn't care less about black folks. They know they'll show up once every 4 years, get Al Sharpton to shuck and jive on stage with them, or get Beyonce or Jay-Z or LeBron James, get a basketball player. Just tell him, he said that he's going to vote for us. And they ignore black folks for the next 3.5 years. Meanwhile, you got Republicans who are like, why even waste the time? I'm going to go after people in small towns. I'm going to go after Midwestern farmers. I'm not even going to waste my time with black folks and what they're doing. So you've got black folks now who are crying out saying, we need people to hear our voices. Yeah, well, people are trying to hear your voices, and this is what happened. Or people are trying to hear your voices, but you're not going to vote for them. So it's you've already said you're not going to vote for them, and you see them as a villain. So why even waste the time? My thing is, listen, this is what I've always said. Diversify your vote. Get out there, listen to new candidates. Get out there, let the Democrat Party know, hey, listen, 90% of us are not just going to vote for you just because some race pimp somewhere said to. We're going to diversify things, and things would be a lot better if that happened. I've always said that.
Well, don't you feel like the black communities, several have been beat up in Boston? There was a center where kids, that didn't have parents would come, they'd shoot hoop, and then all of a sudden they closed it. They put illegals in there, and there was no place for these kids to stay off the street and be clean. Doing the right thing because it was given to these illegals. So to me, that was a slap in the face. These kids needed that space. It was a great safe zone for them to go to. And now you've given it to people that have come through illegally. And where are these kids going to go now? It was a great place for them to be. And so I've seen that now, in places across the country. Do you not feel like that doesn't wake up the black voter when they're being tossed in the street? For somebody else, it's not even an American.
I saw that, and the first thing I thought was, and guess what? that same Democrat who gave the order to toss them all out is going to smile and say, vote for me, and guess what? Those same people who got tossed out on the street are going to vote for him. Or vote for her, because I think the mayor of Boston is an Asian
a woman.
female.
Yes.
Yeah, so that same person is going to show up and say, hey, vote for me, I need your vote, and guess what? They're going to vote right for her. It's.
I was so mad.
I can't even make sense of.
Mad.
I can't make sense of that. I can't make sense of it. I mean, listen, if someone threw me out on the street and they said,
what
hey,
color you are,
I'm going to need your vote. Yeah, I'm going to need your vote. I said, no. So, I mean, listen, I can't make sense of it. No.
Zeke, I can relate to that. Years ago, I ran for county commission in the district I live in, and one of the other guys that's a Republican that was running was a black Republican, was running in an adjacent district, and I was asking him about how much support were you getting from the black community, and he's like, none. They're all backing the white Democrat, and I mean, and I'm like, you go to church, you talk to these people, the pastors and stuff, and they refuse because you're a Republican. That's all it is. Your black identity means nothing to them. The Republican part was just overwhelming, and they'd rather vote for the white Democrat than a black Republican that identifies with them. I've never been able to make sense of that situation.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, honestly, I can't make sense of it myself. You've got great candidates like Byron Donalds out there who are trying to bridge the gap.
Yep.
I get most of my hate DMs are coming from other black folks who are mad at me because I'm not falling in line. And like I said, guess what? I'm not going to fall in line. I'm going to keep telling the truth. A popular thing I get in my DMs, they go, hey, you need to remember you were black before you were a conservative. And I go, yeah, but the truth has been around since long before me. So that's the side I'm on. I don't have to try to warp the truth in order to fit my point of view. The truth is just the truth, and that's why I'm speaking.
So you posted a very funny meme that Trump reposted, and I can't even talk about what the meme is because it's a little PG for me. I'm too embarrassed. But you're like, come on, Donald Trump Jr., can I get an invite down to Mar-a-Lago? So I can't even. If you, everybody's got to follow Zeek Arkham. You got to go look at the meme. I'm blushing here. I'm gonna have to go to confession as a Catholic girl, but it's so funny. So have you gotten the invite to Trump land yet? Because I wanna be on your coattails. I worked for him as a chair in 2015-16 when the whole year people were like, good job, Veronica, you're not gonna win, and then at 2:30 in the morning we won, baby. And it was so funny because the first person that texted me was this Vietnamese nun that had left Vietnam and fled the communists, and she thanked me for working for Trump. So have you gotten the invite there, Zeke? So I can be your date and we'll go down there together?
No, I didn't get the invite. Honestly, I just put it out there. Hey, listen, your dad retweeted me. Hey, what about it? But no, honestly, I got a ton of backlash over that from leftist circles. Yeah. I got a ton of backlash over that, but it is what it is. I've said to all of them too. I say, hey, listen, my delivery might not have been the most gentlemanly, but did I say anything incorrect? So.
Just remember, the best humor always has an element of truth in it.
Oh yeah.
So Zeke, how long? Because you're an influencer on X. I'm a baby Xer. I only paid for my check mark since April. I'm hitting 5 million feeds, so I'm at 4.9. So I'm doing pretty well in a couple months for little old me. So how did you grow your platform? Just putting your ideas, which are wonderful, out there. Is that how you've done it?
Yeah, honestly, I shy away from any sort of influencer mark, just because I always tell people, listen, don't listen to me, don't listen to anybody else. Do your research for yourself. If you like something, like it for yourself. Don't rely on me to tell you. Don't get your quote unquote truth from me. Don't say something is true because Zeek Arkham went out there and said it. Listen, I want you to think for yourself. I don't want you to just repeat what I've said. So I usually try to tell people, hey, listen, I'm nobody. I'm just a guy with an X account. But yeah, honestly, I started my account just to sort of, I guess, try to tell the truth. I figured I had a pretty unique viewpoint. I'm this guy who grew up in a deep blue city, who is now looking at things from the other way. I had a career in law enforcement. I had a career, just looking at things from a different point of view. So I figured I could explain things in a way that people could relate to, and people just started falling in line with it, and I kind of went viral with a video I made about Colin Kaepernick. And
really?
I told the truth about him. Yeah, I told the truth about him. And literally overnight, my account exploded.
Wow.
And I just started, I made more videos. I started posting more things. And before I knew it, I was up to 100,000, I say friends. I hate that word followers. I say 100,000 friends. And I knew I made it when I started getting my hate tweets back at me. Zeke, I can't stand you. Where are you? I gotta come find you. Straighten you out in person. That's how I knew I made it when people started following me, and those I'll say they're followers. When people started following me just so that they could be like, I hate everything you post. Post some more so I can get some more stuff to hate on it.
So what is that like? Because I've gotten now, people I've gotten a few wish you would have died, and then they'll DM you the C word, the B word. They send me pictures, which I do not. I've not opened a single picture because I'm afraid. But I've kind of in the last few weeks, because I'm a baby Xer, but I'm like I'm fighting. I'm a conservative dragon slayer here, fighting for life and the right candidate and conservatism and freedom of speech. Like I'm petrified, because they're saying, this weekend it was trending, Kamala's going to take my ex away. Now I have this addiction, so please don't take it away. But when that's the thing, Zeke, is like when I comment back to somebody that has a different idea, I don't say, I hate your hair. Like I had some guy messed up my whole face. Like I looks like an alien. And I'm not saying I want you to die. We don't act like that. So that's why I'm like, what triggers these people? Is it because they're not in front of us that they act this way? Because there's plenty of people I don't care about, and I'll, fight back with ideas, but I don't wish you to lose your job, your bank account, all your family dies, and then, and you die. I don't act like that.
Well, no, we don't. When you have facts on your side, you don't have to wish evil on someone just because they put something up that you disagree with. That's a lot of the backlash I faced after my post that Trump retruthed. I had people really coming after me, trying to find out who I am, trying to, just destroy me, my family. People saying things about my daughter, who's 9 years old. How evil do you have to be to wish ill on a 9-year-old who's done nothing? I don't get that.
I don't get that. So you think November? I mean, we've got to win it. John and I have had, we talk to people. This is my 4th year talking to people. I feel like this election is truly the most important election of our lifetime. Are you feeling that way as well, Zeke?
I absolutely am. Between 4 years of horrible Bidenomics, I think, just between the Supreme Court, between just the future for this country, between what's going on overseas, you've got World War III that is creeping, it's rearing its head. It's like, hey, listen, I can get here now if you need, between just the economy, between the future of this country. We have a candidate right now who is hiding, who cannot speak off the cuff. I don't know if she's ordered to do so or she just doesn't have the confidence to do so, but she can't speak off the cuff. She had a softball interview with a reporter who was on her side, who didn't, you watch Dana Bash when she interviewed Trump, when she interviewed J.D. Vance, and she's attacking him. Oh,
she's
she was
bashing
full of all
him.
kinds of, yeah, she was angry while interviewing them. She was going after them. And then you've got, Kamala Harris. She interviews them, and she, oh, well, Kamala, how do you feel about this? Oh, okay. You got Tim Walz, who said that he lied for the past 24 years about his service because he doesn't speak English too well. Well, wait, that's your excuse? So I mean, between all that, and Kamala is just not a leader. She flat out just is not. Between all of that, this is going to be a very important, crucial election. And we cannot, for the sake of this country, for the sake of the next generation of Americans, we cannot let Harris win. No. It's going to be catastrophic for this country. I truly believe that.
No, I believe that too. Well, and I want people to check you out on X because everything you write is brilliant. Plus, you got your new MAGA black shirt, and I think you need to hit the gym a little more, Zeke. I just want to let you know that too. Well, it's truly been a pleasure, and I want to have you back on Veronica Live, because we've got to win this, and it takes all. It's going to take all of us, and we need a little God intervention as well. So. You can follow Zeke on X, Zeek Arkham, and such a pleasure, Zeke. Any final thoughts?
No, just thank you so much for having me on, and this was a great interview. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining Veronica Live.